In this lesson, you studied algebraic methods of solving square root and radical equations. In Lesson 6.8, you will study the graphs of square root functions. These graphs can help you find solutions and identify extraneous solutions. The calculator screen shows the graphs of y1, which equals the square root of x plus 7 minus 5, and y2 equals x. From the graph, it's clear that negative 3 is a solution of radical x plus 7 minus 5 equals x, and negative 6 is not a solution. If an equation contains two radical expressions, or two terms with rational exponents, isolate one of the radicals, or one of the terms, then eliminate it, or its rational exponent. Isolate the more complicated radical expression first. In the resulting equation, simplify the expressions before you eliminate the second radical. Problem 5. Solving an equation with two radicals. What is the solution of the square root of 2x plus 1 minus the square root of x equals 1? Well, after rewriting the equation, we'll isolate the more complicated radical. Note the radical 2x plus 1 is more complicated than just simply the square root of x. And so we'll add the square root of x to each side and get to the equation. The square root of 2x plus 1 equals the square root of x plus 1. And then we'll square each side. The square root of 2x plus 1 squared is 2x plus 1, and the square root of x plus 1 squared is x plus 2 times the square root of x plus 1. Now we'll work to isolate the square root part of the expression on the right, that 2 times the square root of x, which will bring us to the equation x equals 2 times the square root of x. Now we'll square each side. X squared equals 2 times the square root of x squared. That brings us to x squared equals 4x. We'll now subtract 4x from each side and factor the expression on the left. X squared minus 4x becomes x times the difference, x minus 4, and that equals 0. Now, by the zero product property, we can state that x equals 0 or x equals 4. Each of these representing a solution that, when substituted into the equation, make it true. Of course, since we raised each side of the equation to a power, we need to check for extraneous solutions. First, we'll check 0. Substituting 0 in for x in both places in the equation. And simplifying, we find 1 equals 1, which is true, so 0 is a solution. We'll also check 4. Substituting 4 in for x in both places, and simplifying, we find 1 equals 1, also true, so 4 is also a solution. In this case, we haven't found any extraneous solutions. Your turn. What are the solutions of the square root of 5x plus 4 minus the square root of x equals 4?